The Wellness Entrepreneur, episode 59.
Starting an online business can be a lonely ride, especially when you're trying to change the world one day at a time. But you're home now, in a place where inspiration flows thick and fast, and we arm you with the how-tos to get started, grow, and thrive in business. Welcome to the Wellness Entrepreneur Podcast with business coach and trainer Katie Wyatt. The mission of the show is to simplify online business so you can focus on your mission rather than your marketing, because it doesn't have to be that hard. Let's leverage your time so you can have more impact and amplify your message. You are a change maker. We need you loud and clear. Wellness entrepreneurs. Passion can change the world and make good business.
Welcome back to the podcast. In this episode, I am catching up with a woman who accidentally became an entrepreneur, but very consciously has built an empire off a single product. Tea. Yes, the tea that you drink. You will learn all about using social media to grow a brand. Of course, we'll talk Instagram, the home of all pretty things, and uncover this personal journey of business growth. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. Did you like what I did there in the intro? Yes, I've been at We Are Podcast and I've come back with so many cool items on my to-do list that I want to implement, beginning with more attention on that first 1 minute of my show, the 1 minute of power. I think, oh my goodness, who did I get that from? $100 MBA, Omar and Nicole. Brilliant piece of advice. I want to hook you in and keep you here from the first minute. Did it work? You still here? Awesome. We Are Podcast was so much fun. I'm going to do an entire episode sharing like some of the value bombs that I got from that and Ozpod over the last couple of weeks. But can I just say how energizing it is to talk with people who are obsessed about the little niche thing that you're obsessed about. And it doesn't hurt to be doing it on the Gold Coast in sunshine with sand and beach and beautiful things around. Although I went for a couple of runs on the beach while I was there, but I didn't run on the beach. I was running on the pavement alongside the beach, and I'm used to in Melbourne running on a racetrack, a horse racetrack, which is grass. And so I was running on footpath and I actually fell over, and my legs and knees and one of my arms is just a big graze. And it was so embarrassing because I fell in front of a serious jogger, and anyway, it was all very sad. Anyway, back to We Are Podcast. I have to be really honest, it was awesome, and it's also made me a little fragile. And I really want to be honest with you about this. I don't want to pretend that it was awesome, I was awesome, and this is just how I roll at events, because I'm not great at going to events. I'm scared of being there on my own. I lose confidence. I lose confidence that I have in every other situation at events. And I want to be really honest with you and tell you that this was no different. Like, I was second last to speak, and I got more and more nervous as the conference went on, because there were some great speakers and there were also some not so great speakers. But of course, I just noticed the great ones. I noticed whenever anyone said anything that didn't align with what I was going to say in my talk, and it really wound me up in knots. And I also had a whole lot of imposter syndrome going on. I don't know, like, you go to a conference and you immediately get a feel for the pecking order in your industry, whether it's intentional or not by anyone there. You're like, okay, so I'm not as famous as that person, or I'm filling time in the agenda here, and it can truly eat you up inside. So And I was going through lots of that. And I was so lucky. I got to meet and bond with a few other speakers who are also righteously rad, and having these new biz buddies was just amazing for my heart and soul and confidence. And I'm going to have all of them, not at the same time, on the podcast because they're all brilliant in their particular niche. But I just wanted to tell you that story to say that I struggled with it. And even though I'm really pleased how everything went and overall it was just a killer conference, I struggled with it. I struggle with the small talk, the networking, but it's something that I'm working really hard to just get over myself because it's so much fun when I do. And hey, I killed it on that stage. I was really happy with how I did. Of course, I missed a few things. No speech is perfect, but I'm really pumped with how it went and the feedback that I got, and particularly from people like Darren Rouse, the pro blogger, and Sean D'Souza, the brain audit dude. Like, some really famous people went out of their way to tell me the impact that my talk had had on them, and that was amazing. So there, Biz is just a roller coaster, right? Now, let's get into it. If you haven't joined the Facebook group yet, do it. bit.ly/start, grow, thrive. We are waiting for you. We're just sitting around and we're waiting for you. And now into today's show with the founder of Melbourne tea brand Matcha Maiden, Sarah Holloway. Welcome to the podcast, Sarah. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, good. And so excited to be talking to you finally. We've been, it's taken us a little while with your busy schedule to hook up. So this is brilliant. So I'd love to know, before I get you to tell us a bit about you and your business, like, if we weren't talking right now, what would you be up to?
Well, I actually love to say that I've gone from having a 5-year plan to not being able to even have a 5-minute plan. So around this time every week looks completely different all the time. Monday mornings are usually a little bit crazy, mostly just catching up on what's happened on the weekend and trying to sort out what I've got to get done this week and what meetings I've got, what if we've got any big events or deadlines or things coming up. It's usually a bit of a crazy time. So I'm probably would be sitting at my laptop like I am right now, but maybe just a little bit less relaxed than I'm feeling at the moment.
Awesome. And so I'd love to for everyone to learn a bit more about your business as it is today. So who is Matcha Maiden? Tell us of what it looks like today.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Basically, Matcha Maiden is my partner Nick and we founded a matcha company that sells organic matcha powder. And we did start with just one sole product. It's just powdered green tea. And it has 137 times the antioxidants of regular green tea and 10 times the nutritional content, which is amazing. But recently, so we're about 18 months old at this point in time. So we have grown quite a lot. We have a warehouse in Melbourne and one in Vegas, because the US has become a big market for us. We also have more than just the matcha now. We bring out a new limited edition collaboration product each month. So we've got that going on. And we've got the online store, which is how we started, but we now also have about 1,500 stockists around the world as well. And we also have a physical venue now called Matcha Milk Bar, which opened about 4 months ago. So there's sort of matcha madness going on for us at the moment.
It is total matcha madness, like so many things. And I can't wait to dig inside a bit more. But I mean, you are rocking a total empire right now. So, but what I'd love to do is just rewind back a bit. So when you first had, you and your partner, this crazy little idea to start a company selling tea powder, like, where were you? What had happened? Tell me, take me back to where it all began.
Yeah, so all a bit of a happy accident. I was a mergers and acquisitions lawyer at the time, and Nick was running his own digital and tech companies. So, no background in food or hospitality or retail or anything like that. Basically, we'd both discovered it on our travels in its ceremonial, traditional context in Japan, and then in more adventurous context, so in like lattes, smoothies, and all that kind of thing when traveling in the US. And I got quite sick when we're quite adventurous. So we were working in a school in Africa, volunteering to help build some classrooms. And I got quite sick and lost 10 kilos and was not allowed to drink coffee anymore. And if you're an M&A lawyer and you can't drink coffee, it's like the end of the world. So I thought, I need to get a caffeine source like stat that's gentle enough on my body, but that still can give me the right, energy boost. So I got sent to Hong Kong with my firm, which was a bit of a godsend because matcha is very readily available in Asia. It's not new there. And I got hooked over there. And then I was there for 8 months and I would have my matcha a couple of times a day, and that's what got me through. And then I came home and we couldn't find it anywhere. Like we'd both got hooked, but weren't able to find a product that wasn't either really exorbitantly expensive because it was ceremonial and a special occasion kind of product, or that was too low quality and was either mixed with sweeteners or not organic. There sort of wasn't anything that was tapping into the health benefits of matcha. And so we did a bit of Googling and could only get it in bulk. And then we figured, oh, well, if we're going to have all of this stuff left over, then maybe we should start a business and see if there's anyone else out there who's in our position. And I think at the time we sort of thought, we could make this work as a bit of a side project, like a little hobby. And there'll be a couple of other people out there like us, but I don't think we ever expected it would actually explode like it has. But we just wrote all our ideas down on a serviette, which I think we still have somewhere, and then just Googled how to start a tea business and took it from there. It was very DIY.
And so, I mean, how do you start a tea business? Like, what did you have? Because starting a product-based business, I think, can be a lot harder than just sort of setting up as, well, I guess what what your partner was doing in terms of digital marketing type strategy work and what you were even doing as a lawyer. So how weird did that feel?
Yeah, incredibly weird. We literally, this is the bit I used to always go to sort of entrepreneurial talks and events, and people would talk about the amazing businesses they had, but I'd always wonder about that bit where you go from nil to something. Like, how do you go from I'm not a business owner to I have one? Like, what's that bit look like? And for us, it was literally just breaking it down to the bits that we would need and then Googling how to get them. So we realized we'd need bags, we'd need stickers. Like, it was all very simplified, just baby steps of how to get there. And we Googled it all. We got our bags from eBay. We started printing our labels at Officeworks. We had to line up in the queue with uni students printing their notes because it was like around November, so around exam time. And I was like, guys, I'm trying to start a business here. Like, let me in the queue.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we packed it all ourselves. I was lucky to have a legal background, which meant I could look up, the regulations on the labeling and all that kind of thing. But once we sorted that out, it was just a matter of finding a commercial kitchen to pack it all and then buying a heat sealer and then putting the labels on. And then Nick was able to build a website and I started the social media. And then we just launched and waited to see what happened.
Okay, awesome. I love it. I love that. It probably, when you look back, you just go, it just sort of felt like one foot in front of the other. But I think when you haven't taken any of those steps, it does, like as you say, it just feels like the bit that no one really talks about, because once you've done it, it doesn't feel so difficult, I guess. But, it does feel like Matcha Maiden went pretty crazy viral straight away. And I'm interested to know, like, is that what it felt like on the inside? And what is the one thing that you feel like was the most important thing you did in the early days to get it going?
Yeah, I think it felt totally surreal that anyone who wasn't just our friends and family were actually buying this stuff. And I still now have that weird feeling that every time a sale comes through, I'm like, oh my God, that's a stranger. That's so exciting. But it did feel like it exploded very quickly and was just, it went international very quickly as well. And it was really the one big thing for us that allowed that to happen was being primarily based on social media. I think just because there's no geographical boundaries, it's such a quick way to access people and spread a message, particularly when you don't have a lot of capital. We just really harness the power of that to push out the word about what it was and how to use it. And because it's so visual, you can use it, to show beautiful photos of the dishes that you can make. And so being quite aggressive on social media at the beginning is what allowed us to grow really fast and reach the most amount of people in the quickest amount of time.
And is Instagram your main social media platform?
Yes, definitely, particularly because it's so it already had taken off in the health food and health and wellness space. So there were already a lot of people using it in that area, which made it a lot easier. It wasn't in some industries it might not be as helpful, but in our particular area, it was already very strong. So it was easy to pitch to the audiences because they were already there.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got now, 77,000 followers on Instagram, which is just massive. But at the start, what do you remember you did? Was it just about posting multiple times a day? Was it about the quality of the photos? Did you do a lot of sort of reaching out and connecting with influencers?
Yeah, it was all of that. It was just throwing everything we could at it, posting really regularly, being responsive to which times of the day worked better for us and then sticking to that as well. Really high quality photos, consistent brand messaging as well. So everything, we picked a theme for our page, which was green. So everything obviously matches green, but everything that goes on it had to sort of stick to those guidelines. And the captions had to have the same tone as well, which was easy because it was just me. So it was just my tone. But, making sure that it was really consistent and that we were really engaging as well. So not just posting a lot, but going back and replying to comments or questions and acknowledging if other people would post, making sure that no post kind of went unnoticed. So because it's an online business, you don't get to have that customer interaction face to face. So you sort of have to create it online.
And do you still believe, even 18 months down the track, are you still seeing that most of your new customers are finding you through social media?
Yeah, I think it's very hard to track, but I do think that there's still so much momentum there, and that is where a lot of people find their new ideas for everything now. I mean, new brands that they've not heard of for fashion, and every time I hear of a new superfood, it's or some kind of health food product or cafe, it is usually through social media.
Yeah.
So I think it is still very, very powerful.
Yeah, beautiful. And so then let's talk about the way that you've grown, because you mentioned you've got a milk bar now. That's milk with an MY, by the way, people. And your tea is global. You do a lot of speaking. Has it? And you mentioned the collaborations that you're doing. Has this all been quite strategic or more of an organic growth process?
I would love to say that it's been very strategic. But I would have to admit that it's probably been more of a wing it and suss it out as we go along situation.
Yeah.
Nick has a lot of business experience, so there has been he's brought a lot of strategy to our growth, but also not having had the experience in this particular industry, we have felt our way around a lot of the time, and it has been really organic growth. And I think even when we've been in the market, it's changed dramatically in the short 18 months that we've been around. So even if I'd felt like I was experienced and ready back then, I still would have been kept on my toes the whole time as we've gone along. So it's funny, I didn't really realize at the start, you're so hard on yourself when you've come from an environment where I've had, 8 years training to be a lawyer. So it's easy to be hard on yourself to do a good job. But when you go into business, you just realize like everyone's winging it really. Like no one really has any idea what they're doing, which is really reassuring to know that it's all, it's so dynamic, it's so fast moving. Everyone's just making, finding their feet. It's a crazy but amazingly exciting world to be part of.
Yeah, and it almost gives you that permission then to just try new things, doesn't it? Because there's
Yeah.
not a whole wealth of data around everything's been tried before.
Yeah, you can't really, I mean, you can have strategy definitely, but you can't really plan too much. Like it just because things come up and, you know, landscapes change. It's just all like so fast these days that you've just got to be really open-minded and agile and adaptive.
And I'm sure you've noticed like there'd be more companies popping up sort of offering what you offer in terms of that core product. And so have you found like things like doing the brand collaborations really helping to keep you front of mind?
Yeah, definitely. I think we had a combination of a great product at the right time, back at the beginning when there really wasn't anyone else doing what we were doing. So we did, like our branding's great. We had a great strategy and we were, really threw our hearts into it, but timing was also really on our side. Now there are like quite a few other companies around, which all you can see it as is a compliment and a sign that the demand is strong, which is good.
Yeah.
But you do have to always be mindful then of like your point of difference, and collaborations is a big part of that. And bringing out just like keeping things fresh, so having new ideas beyond the product as well, like events, and all the kind of stuff that goes beyond just your product. It has been really difficult to adjust to being the only one in the market to being in a market where there's competitors, but it keeps you on your toes, and it's a good sign that more and more people are finding out about matcha and wanting it. So the more matcha, the better.
I think it's a really important point that I think a lot of companies that have had really fast growth like there's often a timing factor, which doesn't mean that if the timing is different now that people shouldn't think about doing their thing. It just can mean that, you don't have that particular advantage on your side. So I think it's really interesting. And why a milk bar? Like what made you go from a completely online business to opening up a place in Melbourne?
Yeah, again, another happy accident. We'd never really thought of having a physical outlet, but particularly again, because we have no hospitality experience. But I guess when you're open-minded to things just happen, like opportunities come your way. And we were traveling in the US again with some really close friends of ours who were actually, they have quite a few cafes, and one of their cafes was our very first stockist for Matcha Maiden. And anyway, we were traveling and noticed that the vegan movement was growing very strongly over there, and that purposeful matcha specific venues were also opening up a lot. And we started doing a lot of research and came across the Blue Zones research on the 5 areas of the world where people live the longest. And one of the things they have in common is plant-based eating, but also Okinawa, which is the blue zone with the highest number of 100-year-olds, their longevity is also attributable to their high levels of matcha consumption. So we all just thought, oh my God, what if we could bring those two things together to sort of create like a healthy haven that brought all these longevity and sustainability benefits to the market with beautiful, still amazingly delicious and healthy and nourishing and Instagrammable food, but that also had a really important message behind it and showcased the product that we love so much, matcha. And yeah, we all just kind of were so on board with it straight away and decided, let's just do it. Let's just see what happens. Between all of us, sort of got a good combination of skills. The boys had, our partners have obviously lots of hospitality experience, and on everything on the food and operational side. And then we had obviously the matcha, which was a big thing, and then the sort of social media marketing and all that kind of experience. And it just has come together really nicely.
Brilliant. I love that. There's a real message there. Go traveling and see what's happening
Yeah,
outside of our own shores. I think that's really cool. So what would
totally.
you say like is the hardest or even just the most challenging part of running your business now?
Um, I think for me personally, and this is a challenge I'm going through a little bit at the moment, the biggest adjustment has been going from something that I wasn't particularly in love with to something where I absolutely adore it, which means that you never want to stop because there's always something new that you could be doing. There's always more work, there's always more ideas. And particularly once you do start to have competitors in the environment, you don't ever want to let yourself stop pushing.
Mm,
And that's great. It's such a great feeling to want to keep working, but it's also really hard then to pace yourself because you sort of, because everything is so fast paced, you just think you need to keep that pace up all the time, but then you burn out. And when you run your own show, no one else can kind of, you can't take a sick day. Like no one else can step in and fix that for you or just take over for a little while. It's just you guys. So I think pacing myself is the biggest challenge at the moment.
mm. And have you outsourced or hired in many roles in your business?
Um, in Milk Bar, because it's a physical
Yeah.
venue, yes, that's we had a team straight away. But in Matcha Maiden, we haven't really as much. We have grown. We've outsourced packing. We've outsourced dispatch. We have some beautiful interns who help us with our social media and marketing. Um, my mum works in the business full time, so it's a bit of a family operation, which is wonderful. But we're probably now that we've hit the 18-month mark, and I've been full time for a year now, we are probably getting to the stage where it's starting to outgrow itself again, and we do need to start to outsource a bit more and grow the team.
Mm.
Which is again another challenge I think is growing into like keeping up with your own growth and knowing how to adjust to that kind of expansion. Um, and it's also, when you're like a bit OCD like I am, like a bit of a control freak, it's a bit hard to like delegate and learn how to do that. Um,
Yeah, but it's
yeah,
also yeah, it also contributes to the burnout if you don't let go of some of the reins, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And so it's just changing tack a bit, but on your whole journey, like from lawyer to entrepreneur, like has there been a book or a person or something that has really significantly impacted the way you've thought about and created your business?
So many. I think Nick has been an amazing influence because he's always been an entrepreneur. He's
Mm,
actually never worked for anyone. So having that, even when I didn't know I wanted to run a business, having someone who's in that world and opening your mind to that all the time has been really, really helpful. And then guiding me into it as well, knowing all the, he's been through all those struggles before. So he's been an amazing influence. Um, and also being my business partner is sort of we've been through it all together, which helps a lot, as I think that a lot of people going out on their own find it quite isolating at the beginning. It's
yeah.
hard to not have a team. And then there are just so many people I take inspiration from. Like I read a lot of books. I love Sheryl Sandberg and Ariana Huffington's books have been really strong guidances for me in terms of getting out of your comfort zone and like believing in yourself and letting go of fear and self-doubt and all those kind of things. And then other people who are in business, Melissa Ambrosini, who has actually become a really good friend, she's been a really strong guiding light in how to push yourself forward and always be, following your dreams and building a better you. And yeah, I take inspiration from so many different sources. And I think the big thing is just to make sure you do have that in your network, that you do
Mm,
have lots of role models and you do keep open-minded to, like, I also go to a lot of events. I've been going to entrepreneurial events for years. Like I've been going to the League of Extraordinary Women events since I was at uni, before I even was in the workforce. And everyone I've heard at those events and the people who founded that, they've all been really positive influences. So I think even before you know what you want to do, just surrounding yourself with those people, even if you only take one message from one event and then a couple of years later you take another one, you know, it all counts towards your journey and will be like really valuable later on.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Love that. And so my last question is about, really, I guess it's about the mindset side of things. So, I mean, in my experience in this entrepreneur life, like we have days, we have the really great days when we feel like everything's just rocking and we're totally boss. But then we also have those other types of days where nothing seems to work. And so what I'm interested in is like when you're having one of those crappy days, what are some of your go-to rituals or routines or things that you do to help get you back into the game?
I think meditating is really important. I didn't used to have a meditation practice, and I always was, you know, especially when I was at the firm, I was like, oh God, that's so fluffy, as if I would ever do that. But it's become really, really valuable for me to just reset, particularly because your brain's just going at 1,000 miles an hour all the time. You can really work yourself up into a real rut, particularly when things aren't, you know, when you're not having a great day. So yeah, just stopping and taking a pause and giving yourself permission to just reset and fill yourself with positive affirmations again. That really helps me. We have a beautiful dog, so getting outside and going for a walk really helps. I think it's different for everyone, but it's important when you're not getting anywhere to just give yourself permission to stop for a second. Again, coming back to that momentum thing. Even if you're having a bad day, you sort of think, no, I've just got to push on. I've just got to push through. And if you're not being productive, you know, that's a bit of a waste of time. So just getting up and having a change of scenery. I like to, you know, go out for breakfast. I love going out to eat. So if I'm having a bad day and I'm not getting anything done and I'm halfway through the day, I might just I might just go out for lunch or do something that makes me feel good for a little while and just take a total break from everything and then try and come back to it and start again. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Love them. And so how can people connect with you, Sarah? Like if they want to know more about your products or want to find the Milk Bar, what's the best place to start?
Well, Instagram, I guess, is where I spend a lot of my time. So yeah, we've got 3. So Matcha_Milk Bar with a Y, Matcha_Maiden for Matcha Maiden, and then my personal account is Spoonful of Sarah with underscores, and our email addresses for all of those are on those pages. So beautiful. You can get in touch that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been an absolute delight hearing your story.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that show with Sarah from Matcha Maiden. If you take anything from that episode, apart from some hot little Instagram tips, I really hope you will kind of embrace that accidental entrepreneur mindset of this is all just an experiment. We're just throwing stuff at a wall and we're seeing what sticks. I think, you know, the longer you're in business, the more educated your experiments become. But the fact is, we're all conducting experiments and you can have fun with that. You can do it with a view that it can all fail and that's okay. But I think the minute we let go of those reins and let us have that experimental mindset, the more fun we have and the more exciting opportunities and insights open themselves up to us. So that's it from me. See you next time. Happy days.